Hi everyone, and welcome to GSCU's First Time Car Buyer Seminar. Before we begin the seminar, I wanted to say that we are very excited to welcome you towards the first steps of buying your first car and in some cases, establishing credit. In today's market, inventory is limited, so it's even more important to be prepared to make your first purchase. This seminar is designed to provide key information to help you navigate the car buying process. And as part of the seminar, you will be reviewing some of this information. To give you an overview of the seminar that will go over the various parts of the car buying process, I wanted to start by stating that we will be reviewing the loan process and pre-approvals. Next, we have budgeting and credit. And finally, we'll be reviewing buying tips and ways to protect your investment.
In this section, we're going to be covering the avenues to apply, some common questions, as well as the steps of the car buying experience. Our first topic is our avenues to apply. So as you can see, we have a number of avenues that are easy and convenient to fit all busy schedules and preferences. Whether it be online on our website 24/7, our mobile-friendly app, over the phone 24/7, or in person at one of our 8 full-service branches. You may also apply in person at the dealership. If you choose this option, you can get pre-approved prior to going to the dealer, or you can certainly tell the dealer that you'd only like to finance with Granite State Credit Union. Please keep in mind, only select dealerships participate in this program. You can certainly check with us beforehand to see if the dealer you're going to is part of the program, or you can check directly with the dealer, who will also be able to let you know. Keep in mind that when you do choose this option, telling them that you only want to finance with Granite State Credit Union is very important. That way you don't have any additional unnecessary credit pulls. Now that you've learned the ways to apply, you may be thinking, how much can I apply for? Or what will my payment be? So here on our website, we have a few payment calculators. So if you were to go to gscu.org and borrow and select our calculators, you're going to use the car loan calculators. So there's 2 here. How much can I afford and what will my payment be? So for an example, if you're looking to have a specific monthly payment, you're going to use the how much can I afford calculator. So say you want a payment of $300. So for 60 months, you can borrow up to just under $16,000. And for 48 months, you can borrow just over $13,000. If you're looking for what will your payment be, you can use it by the total loan amount. So say you're looking for a loan amount of $20,000. You're going to have a payment of just under $300 for 84 months. You're going to have it just under $380 for 60 months and just under $600 for 36 months. So you can certainly use these calculators at your leisure to figure out what works best for your budget and what you think will be best for you overall. So do keep in mind, we have a guideline here at Granite State Credit Union, which is 75% of your gross annual income. So for example, if you were to have an annual income of $35,000, 75% of that would be $26,000 as your approximate loan amount. So if we were to put that in this calculator, you're going to look at a payment of just under $400 for 84 months, just under $500 for 60 months, and just under $800 for 36 months. Now, again, these calculators use our lowest rate as a guideline. You may not qualify for the lowest rate right off the bat. However, you are here to learn to build your credit for the future. So while you may not qualify for the lowest rate now, we're hoping you'll be able to do that in the future when you learn your tips and tricks from this seminar. Our next section is going to be the steps of the car buying experience. So as you can see, there are 10 steps here that we're going to go through. So first, you're going to complete your application and obtain your pre-approval, which is kind of steps 1 and 2 combined. You can refer back to the avenues to apply and make sure that you're providing accurate information on your application. This will make it for a smooth process from the beginning to the end. Also, if you need a pre-approval letter to show the dealership that you are approved, we certainly can provide that to you as well. Once you complete your application, obtain your pre-approval, you're going to be able to start shopping for your vehicle. Now, keep in mind, this is an investment of your money. So you want to make sure that you are doing your research and making sure you're getting a vehicle that is in good working condition and good for you. So there's 2 types of transactions. It could be through a dealership or private sale. If you're going through a dealership, we do advise you to read dealer reviews online. This will give you a good idea of how the dealership interacts with previous customers, if any previous customers had any type of issues. And it will make sure that you are getting the vehicle that you're actually looking at. Again, you're going to want to see that vehicle because photos online or any type of video you may see may not be accurate. So you want to see it ahead of time. You want to ensure that you are telling them that you're pre-approved with us, or again, only want to finance with us to, again, eliminate those additional credit pulls that may not be necessary and would affect your credit score. Your other type of transaction is private sale, where you're buying from one person rather than a dealership. So you are going to be required to see that vehicle prior to your closing. And again, this is for your protection security to make sure you are purchasing the vehicle that you see in those photos or videos that you may have gotten beforehand from the seller, and to protect your overall investment. So here at the credit union, we do use a guideline for loan to value. So that's what you're paying for the vehicle versus what's worth. Here we use JD Power, which is formerly known as NADA, and we do lend up to 100% of that value. You may be able to get up to 100%. You may be, have a lesser percent. Again, it's all based on the application, the overall profile, but that's just a guideline that you can use if you're looking online for values. And you can certainly provide us with the vehicle information, and we can pull a value on our side and let you know where the loan to value falls before you go ahead and move forward with the purchase. So once you shop for your vehicle, you're going to obtain the purchase documents. So here we have created a checklist with some of our common transactions for reference. So as you can see at the top, we are going to need your 2 most recent pay stubs, which is that for all first-time auto buyers. We do look for employment of 1 year minimum within the same field. And if for some reason that's not your situation, we can definitely add a cosigner to the application for review. Then we've broken down the sales type. So it's by dealership, whether that be in-state or out-of-state, and then private sale without a lien or with a lien. Once your sale type is determined, you are going to be able to refer to the checklist for the required documentation. We will review the documents in more depth once your application is approved and your sale type is determined. That way, you'll be able to know exactly what we are looking for. But just as an example, if you were to purchase in-state, we are going to need a purchase and sales agreement from the dealership. It's going to need to be signed by a dealer representative and list Granite State Credit Union as lien holder with the information that is in that section. Once you obtain your purchase documents, you send it over to us, it gets reviewed, and then you're getting ready for your closing, you're going to want to set up your insurance. So you're going to want to contact your insurance provider directly, and you're going to want to add Granite State Credit Union as lien holder. You definitely want to make sure this is completed prior to picking up your vehicle, so that way when you get in the vehicle, close that door, you're covered. Once your insurance is set up, you're going to hear from one of our lending representatives at the credit union, and we're going to be able to go over all of your closing terms. At that time, we'll be able to review applicable protections that can be added to your loan, such as GAP, extended warranty, life and disability, which will also be covered in this seminar today as well. Once your closing terms are complete, you'll be able to sign your closing documents. So we have 2 ways of being able to do that. You can certainly close in branch with one of the member service representatives, or remotely by your phone or PC. If you're closing in person, you're going to be able to sign, pick up your check right away. If you're closing remotely, you're going to be able to let us know what is the most convenient branch for you. And then you're going to sign your documents on your phone or PC. So they'll be sent back over to us, where we will be able to fund the loan and send you one last email letting you know that you're good to pick up your check. Once you pick up your check, you're going to be able to head to the dealer or seller to deliver the check in exchange for the vehicle. Finally, step 9 is if you have any follow-up with Granite State Credit Union, we will let you know of that ahead of time, and you'll be able to complete as needed or applicable based on your type of transaction. If you have no follow-up, then no further need to come to us to follow up. And finally, if once you're done everything, you're at step 10 and you are ready to ride in your new vehicle.
Hello, I'm going to be reviewing credit reports, credit scores, the importance of a good credit score, and some tips and tricks on improving and maintaining credit. We'll also be reviewing debt to income and how we as lenders like to ensure a loan payment is affordable to you, the borrower. First things first is, what is a credit score? Your credit score is a number that's calculated using multiple factors to determine a person's credit worthiness and helps lenders predict the likelihood that a person will pay back a loan on time. Credit reports and credit scores are one of the items that we review while making a decision on a loan application, but please keep in mind it's not the only one. We'll get into that a little bit later on. There are 3 different credit bureaus: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Credit scores are similar across the 3 credit bureaus, but it's unlikely they'll be exactly the same. Here at Granite State Credit Union, we utilize TransUnion when you apply for an auto loan or a personal loan. However, when you eventually apply for a mortgage, all 3 credit bureaus are pulled and reviewed. Credit scores typically range from 300 to 850. Anything 700 and above is considered excellent. 650 is considered fair, while anything 600 and below could use some improvement. Credit scores are important as we base the interest rate on a loan off of the credit score of the primary borrower. Pretty straightforward. The higher the credit score, the lower the interest rate. As most of you watching this video are first-time auto buyers, you may ask yourself how we determine your interest rate if you have no credit at all. What we do here is we plug you into our system right in the middle with the interest rate you would qualify for if your score was a 600. Last item I'd like to mention before we dive into what makes up your credit score is the difference between secured credit and unsecured credit. Interest rates are typically lower for secured credit versus unsecured. Secured credit is a loan that has some sort of tangible collateral, something you could see or feel, like a car, truck, motorcycle, boat, or a house. Unsecured credit is the opposite. A loan without collateral, like a credit card or a debt consolidation loan you may have taken out to pay off miscellaneous debt. So now that we know what a credit score is and why it's important to have a good one, let's take a look at what actually makes up your credit score. You'll see 5 factors that are all very easy for you to maintain and control. The first factor is payment history, which is pretty straightforward, making your loan payments as agreed on time. The best advice we have here is to know when your payments are due and know how much they are. Is your payment going to be paid automatically out of a checking account, or do you need to mail in a payment or visit a branch? One missed payment has the potential to drop your score 100 points, so it's very important to know how and when those payments need to be made. If you think you may have trouble making an upcoming payment, then contact your lender, your financial institution, to touch base, as they may have options to assist with any sort of payment difficulties. The next factor is your capacity of debt. This factor looks at the amounts you owe, the balances on your loans or credit cards, compared to the original balance on a loan or the limit on a credit card. The goal here is to keep your total debt at or below 50% of your total capacity. If you have a credit card with a $2,000 limit and you've noticed your balances have climbed up over $1,000, then it's a good idea to try to make some extra payments to bring that balance back down under $1,000, under that 50%. Up next is length of credit history. Again, another simple factor to keep in mind: the longer you've had established credit, generally the higher your score should be. The idea here is to keep your oldest credit line available and open if you can. Down the line, you might have a credit card with a $0 balance that hasn't been used in a while, and you have the idea to call the credit card company to turn that card off. If that credit card is your first card you took out when you started establishing credit history, we'll offer you the advice to keep it open. If that oldest credit card, that oldest credit line is closed and falls off your credit report, it may actually hurt your score rather than increase it. The last 2 factors that go into credit scores are types of credit and new credit. Types of credit looks at your different credit lines and types of accounts you've opened. The consumer that has more of a mix of those secured and unsecured credit lines, with an auto loan, a couple of credit cards, some student loans that are paid off, a mortgage, should have generally a stronger score than a consumer with just a few credit cards. New credit factors in the number of recently opened credit lines as well as the credit report inquiries. You may not know this, but anytime you apply for a loan and your credit is pulled, that's actually going to drop your score. Because of that, a good rule of thumb is to only apply for loans and credit when needed. Don't run a few car loan applications just to see if you can get approved for one if you're not actually in the market for a car and ready to move forward on a purchase. So now that we know why a credit score is important and what makes up the credit score, I'd like to give you a real-life example of the importance of a strong score. Please note that these examples are based off of our current market rates. 2 consumers apply for the same auto loan, we'll say $25,000 for a 5-year term. Person A, the more experienced borrower, has a credit score of exactly 700. Person B, the borrower that has some older late payments and some issues in the past, has a score of 599. You'll notice that's only a difference of 101 points, which isn't much considering scores range from 300 to 850. Both of our applicants are approved and purchased their vehicle. Person A, with that 700 credit score, ends up with an interest rate of 4.5%, while person B is at 13.5%. That's a major interest rate difference of 9 points. Person A will have a payment of around $466 a month, while person B is closer to $575 a month. Now we're talking over $100 difference in a monthly payment. Now here's the big factor. Over the full term of their loans, person A, with that higher credit score and the lower interest rate, will pay back around $3,000 in interest over the 5 years, while person B, with a score of just 101 points lower, will be paying back $9,500 in interest. That's $6,500 more in interest for the exact same car over the exact same 5-year term, all because of a credit score 101 points lower than the first person. As I mentioned earlier, one missed payment has the potential to drop a score 100 points, so it's very easy for that credit score to drop, while it's also very simple for you to control. Now we're going to briefly look at what's called your debt to income ratio. As I mentioned earlier, your credit score isn't the only factor that's reviewed when you apply for a loan. One of the key factors that we at Granite State Credit Union look at is your debt to income. This is simply the difference between your monthly payments that show up on your credit report compared to how much you earn monthly. To calculate this number, we take your housing payment, whether it's a mortgage reporting on your credit report or your monthly rent payment, and we add that in with your car loan payment, your minimum payments on credit cards, your other monthly debt. Again, that's going to show up on your credit report. So student loans, personal loans, motorcycles, ATV, boat payments, that sort of thing. We total that all up, and we divide that by your gross monthly income, which is, again, the amount before taxes are taken out. That gives us your DTI ratio. In this example, we're at exactly 45%. We review this number and like to aim for a ratio around 45 to 50% to ensure that we as a lender aren't approving a loan with a high payment that may not be affordable to you, the borrower. Why do we do that? Because there are a multitude of items that aren't already factored into that debt to income ratio. Your cell phone bill, utilities, cable, groceries, your auto insurance payment, your gas, all of the hidden costs of owning a vehicle, owning a car. It's good to know what lenders look at for this factor because you can go into a loan application with a solid idea of what your debt to income ratio is and what an affordable payment for you may be. We have calculators on our website that can break down what a monthly payment would be for a certain dollar amount in a certain term. You'll already know what your monthly income and monthly payments are. All you need after that is a calculator, and you should have all the knowledge you need to go into a loan application feeling confident and ready to apply.
One of the most important steps in the car buying process is to give yourself time to shop. One way to do this is to apply early. The application process takes about 15 to 20 minutes. It can be done online, over the phone, or in person. The application is good for 45 days from the day that you apply. Make sure you provide accurate and thorough information regarding your income, living situation, including your rental payment and expenses. If anything is to change during the loan process, you're going to want to make sure you keep us updated and informed. That way we can keep you moving towards that closing process smoothly. Do your research on the vehicle. If it's a dealer, do some Google research. Find some reviews out there. See if this is something that you're going to be comfortable with. Keep in mind, this is an investment for you. It's something that you're going to have for a few years. You're going to want to feel comfortable with this investment. If you have a trusted mechanic, take the vehicle for a test drive. See if you can bring it down to your mechanic and have them do a once over on it. Avoiding those high pressure situations. As we stated before, your application is good for 45 days. Don't feel like you need to go with that first vehicle that you find. You have plenty of time to shop. Staying current with those bills is going to be an important part of the process. You'll always want to maintain a good payment history on your existing accounts during and after your loan process. As you'll notice, it will impact your monthly payment and your interest rate. Now, once we've got you set up for the closing, what you'll want to do is reach out to your insurance provider. You'll want to have adequate coverage added to the vehicle before you drive it off the lot. Keep in mind, Granite State credit union does require full coverage. Next, we're going to cover the hidden cost of buying a car. The first one is going to be your title fee. It's going to be a one-time fee that's paid to the state of New Hampshire at the time of the purchase. It can range on the price depending on where you purchase that vehicle. Your registration is going to be an annual fee. It's paid to the city and the state. The cost of your registration can range depending on the vehicle that you choose. For instance, if you choose that big fancy truck, you're probably looking somewhere around $615 to register it for the year. Versus if you're looking at that sedan, you're going to be looking at probably more like a $460 for the year. Insurance. Insurance is going to be one of those things that you are required to keep on the vehicle. The average cost of the insurance for a new driver is going to be about $2,200 or as low as $189 a month. Now, along with your insurance is going to be your deductibles. Deductible is the amount that you will need to pay out of pocket before your insurance will step in and pay the rest. Your deductible can range between about $250 all the way up until $1,500. And at the time of setting up your insurance, they'll ask you what you'd like to set it at. Next is going to be the inspection. The cost of an inspection in the state of New Hampshire will range between about $20 to $50. If there is anything found to be wrong at the time of the inspection, out-of-pocket expenses may apply. For instance, in the state of New Hampshire, a cracked windshield is a billable expense, and a new windshield can cost you anywhere from $100 to $400 to replace. Next is going to be your gas. This is going to be an ongoing fee expense that you have the whole time. Gas is a good thing to keep in mind when you're choosing that first vehicle, because as we spoke about with the registration, the cost will range. If you're looking at that small sedan, you're probably looking at about a 12-gallon gas tank. That's going to be about $50 for you to fill it currently. If you're looking at that big fancy pickup truck, once again, we're looking at about a 26-gallon tank. That's probably going to cost you more about $110 to fill that. So one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at that affordable budget, am I going to be able to fill this vehicle with gas? Last is going to be your maintenance and your season appropriate tires. One of the things that you'll have to do is your oil changes. The cost of your oil change can range depending on if it's full synthetic or just a conventional, and it can range between about $35 to $125. The tire cost can range, once again, depending on that vehicle that you choose, in the range between about $50 to $300, depending on that vehicle. Snow tires may be required depending on that vehicle that you choose. So keep in mind when picking that vehicle, am I going to need snow tires? Because those will range between about $150 to $200 per tire. One last thing to keep in mind when looking for that first vehicle is all-wheel drive vehicles do require you to replace all 4 tires at once. So this can be a costly fix. And last but not least, we're going to cover my vehicle and my investment. First protection we're going to cover is the gap protection. If you were to get in an accident and the insurance company does deem the vehicle a total loss and you have gap insurance, the gap insurance will step in and pay the difference between the actual cash value of the vehicle and what the insurance says it's worth. So for instance, if you have a loan for $10,000, but the insurance company comes back and says it's only worth $8,000, the gap insurance will step in and pay the other $2,000 out of pocket for you. Now, there is 2 additional perks that come here with Granite State. The first one is if you were to get in an accident and they do total that vehicle, but you come back to Granite State to get another one, they'll actually give you $1,000 to put directly towards the principal of your next loan. Now, the second perk to that is if you were to get in an accident and they don't total that vehicle, you just have to pay back that deductible. They will actually reimburse that all the way up until $500, and that's good for any vehicles that you title and insure in your own name. The next coverage that we're going to talk about today is going to be the mechanical breakdown or payment protection. We offer 3 different types of protection here. The first one is going to be the Easy Street. This is basically a factory type warranty. It's geared for vehicles that are 2014 and newer. They have between about 0 to 85,000 miles. Now, if you fall outside of that range, you're going to qualify for the Main Street coverage, which is going to be a deluxe coverage. This is going to be geared towards those vehicles that are 2010 and newer, and they have between 0 to 140,000 miles. Now, unfortunately, if we don't qualify for the Easy Street or the Main Street, we do offer the First Street coverage, which is going to be basically a drivetrain coverage. There is going to be no year or mileage restriction with that insurance. Last but not least is the life and disability protection or the payment protection. We'll start with the disability. God forbid, if you were sick, injured, or unable to work for 14 or more days, they are going to step in and make that payment until you can go back to work. Now, if your employer only gives you about 60% of your paycheck while you're on disability, you don't have to worry about putting that towards this payment. The disability protection will step in and make that payment for you, and you can use the 60% towards one of your other bills. Just gives you that peace of mind of not having to worry about where that payment's going to come from. And last but not least, the life protection. God forbid, if you were to pass away, your loved ones wouldn't have to worry about where the payment's going to come from. They're just going to get that vehicle free and clear. Once again, just giving them that peace of mind of not having to worry about where that payment's going to come from.
Thank you all for joining us for the First Time Auto Buyer Seminar. We hope you learned a thing or two about the car buying process and feel better prepared about making your first purchase. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to email us at lending@gscu.org or call 1-800-645-4728 extension 3804. We'd be more than happy to talk with you further.